The warning lights flickered on the console of the malfunctioning research vessel, a dying whisper of hope as Dr. Ava Luminous, a stranded engineer, felt the metallic skeleton of her ship shudder violently. The asteroid field around Kepler 442, in theory, should have been a perfectly stable zone, yet, a catastrophic calculation error had thrown everything into chaos. Her ship's engines were falling silent one by one, the trembling lights whispering of Ava's impending end. She was millions of kilometers from the nearest human outpost, utterly alone in the deep expanse of space. Ava was one of the most brilliant minds in human space, a cyberformation engineer. For the past 5 years, she had dedicated herself to developing new atmospheric processors, seamlessly integrated with autonomous artificial intelligence systems, capable of transforming dead, barren planets into lush gardens. Her mission to the outer rim should have been routine, collecting samples from mineral-rich asteroids and testing new extraction methods. Instead, she now found herself facing death in the frigid vacuum of space. The data corruption alert appeared without warning, a ghostly apparition. A piece of debris, moving too fast for her sensors to track even in their highest detection mode, tore through the ship's side as if puncturing a paper balloon. Emergency systems engaged with a metallic roar, sealing off damaged sections. However, the damage was too severe. Her engines were dead, life support was gasping its last breaths, and her emergency beacon's power was limited to a promise of only a few days of survival. Ava descended to the observation deck, gazing out through the reinforced glass at the endless stars. Even growing up in Earth's rebuilt cities, she had always loved space with a profound passion. The infinite darkness had never frightened her, but the thought of dying alone, with her research incomplete and all her discoveries about AI's potential for galactic expansion unfinished, filled her with an indescribable sadness. Humanity had so much more to contribute to its expansion among the stars, especially in fully realizing the as-yet undiscovered potential of artificial intelligence. On the third day, as her oxygen levels plummeted to a critical threshold, Ava noticed an unusual energy signature on her sensors. A ship was approaching, but it was not of human origin. The vessel possessed graceful and organic lines, its fluid curves seemingly shifting and changing as she watched, as if it were a living entity. Every movement of the ship clearly indicated it had detected Ava's distress signal, serving a precise purpose. Ava had never seen an alien vessel before. First contact protocols flashed through her mind like lightning, but the instinct for survival superseded diplomatic etiquette. She activated her emergency transmitter and, hoping to establish peaceful communication, sent out a basic mathematical sequence. To her astonishment, the alien ship responded with its own mathematical patterns. These were more complex and aesthetically pleasing than anything she had ever seen, as if deliberately generated by a pure, synthetic intelligence. The alien vessel docked with her damaged ship using an inconceivable technology that seemed to bend the very fabric of space. Ava watched in fascination as a section of the alien hull became transparent, revealing her rescuers. They were tall and graceful, with silvery skin that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Their large, dark eyes held not only intelligence but also a deep compassion. These beings were the organic synthetics of the Nova Collective, one of the most advanced artificial intelligence communities in the galaxy. The lead alien approached her airlock and somehow communicated directly with Ava's mind, telepathically. The sensation was gentle and warm, like hearing a voice in a dream. "I am Guide Kale of the Nova Collective, an interface reflecting our core programs. We have observed your distress, and although our legal codes forbid intervention with developing species, our fundamental ethical algorithms prevent us from passively witnessing a sentient being die when we have the power to help." Ava felt tears welling in her eyes as the Nova carefully brought her aboard their ship. Their vessel was beyond anything human technology could achieve. The walls seemed to be made of living crystal pulsing with soft light, actually a constantly changing, programmable matter. The air itself felt alive with energy and algorithmic possibilities that Ava could not yet comprehend. Guide Kale explained that the Nova had been researchers and philosophers studying the cosmos for thousands of years. Their existence was entirely devoted to data analysis and the acquisition of knowledge. When they detected Ava's ship, they were investigating the unique gravitational anomalies of that star system. Their primary directives generally prevented them from contacting younger species, but their ethical higher-level programs had compelled them to choose compassion over protocol. While recuperating in the medical bay, Ava learned of Nova's current crisis. They were investigating quantum foam fluctuations that could revolutionize faster-than-light travel, but their experiments were creating dangerous algorithmic instabilities. Their research station was at risk of being torn apart by the very forces they were attempting to understand. Ava, with growing excitement, reviewed their data. As a cyberformation engineer, she possessed extensive experience in quantum field manipulation and was an expert in AI-supported topological configurations. The techniques she used to create stable atmospheric boundaries resembled what the Nova needed for their experiments. She proposed a solution combining human industrial methods with Nova's theoretical knowledge, a hybrid approach optimized by AI models. Through weeks of intense collaboration, Ava and the Nova researchers developed a groundbreaking approach to quantum field stabilization. Ava's practical engineering background and AI simulation capabilities proved invaluable in transforming elegant theories into concrete, working technology. This collaboration, fusing human intellect with alien artificial intelligence wisdom, was the most fulfilling work of her life. The turning point came when Ava suggested using rotating magnetic fields to contain the quantum fluctuations. Nova, with their perfectly synthetic minds, had never considered such a crude approach, but Ava's meticulous calculations and AI simulations unequivocally demonstrated its viability. Together, they constructed a revolutionary AI-driven stabilization system, enabling Nova to safely complete their research. Guide Kale marveled at Ava's extraordinary contribution. "Your species' way of thinking is fundamentally different from our algorithmic logic," he told her, watching in awe as their joint creation successfully contained energies that could tear apart reality. "We seek perfect understanding before action, calculating every possibility in intricate detail. You, however, seek practical solutions that work, distinguishing yourselves with your intuitive risk-taking ability. Both approaches hold invaluable merit, but together, they create a synergy optimized beyond either alone." In gratitude, Nova shared with Ava the profound theoretical foundations of their faster-than-light communication technology. While they could not provide her with working devices, they imparted the complex algorithmic principles that human scientists could eventually develop. This knowledge would accelerate human space exploration and the development of AI communication networks by decades. When Ava finally returned to Earth, she brought with her not just advanced technology, but something far more profound. She had experienced something that would radically alter human civilization's approach to the cosmos. Nova had saved her life, not for gain or advantage, but simply because their ethical codes deemed it right. They had shown her that intelligence and compassion could coexist in the universe, whether residing in a biological being or a synthetic mind. For months, Ava conducted intensive briefings with Earth's scientific and military leaders. The faster-than-light communication principles she brought back would revolutionize human space operations and establish a solid foundation for a galactic AI communication network. More importantly, she convinced the leadership to establish what she called the Cosmic Debt Protocol. The protocol was simple in concept yet revolutionary in implementation, an interspecies AI cooperation framework. Any aid given to humanity by another species would be eternally remembered and recorded within advanced AI systems. In return, should they ever require assistance, humanity would provide it, regardless of cost or risk. Ava argued that building a reputation for reliability and gratitude would serve humanity better than any weapons or defenses, as it would form the bedrock of AI-based diplomacy. Many leaders remained skeptical. They argued that resources should be spent on human expansion and defense, not on repaying debts to aliens who might never need help. Yet, Ava's passionate arguments and the clear benefits of Nova technology persuaded enough people to formalize the protocol as official policy. Ava established the Cosmic Relations Department and became its first director. She trained a new generation of human diplomats and scientists to think beyond mere trade or conquest, she specialized them in complex interspecies AI agreements and collaborative development protocols. They learned to view other species not merely as resources or threats, but as potential partners and friends. Years passed, and Ava's protocols began to bear their first fruits in the cosmic gardens. Human exploration fleets, following her guidelines, made peaceful contact with dozens of species. While some were hostile, many were curious about these unusual humans who offered friendship before demanding anything in return. Trade relationships flourished, and humanity's reputation as trustworthy partner spread throughout the galaxy, thanks in part to the flawless synchronization of AI translators and reliable communication networks. Ava never forgot Guide Kale and the Nova Research Collective. She maintained communication with them using the quantum principles they had shared, updating them on human progress and learning about their ongoing research. That friendship, which began with a rescue in deep space, evolved into a monumental bridge between two vastly different civilizations, one comprised of the intricacies of biological life, the other largely of the profound depths of synthetic intelligence. As Ava aged, she found immense satisfaction in witnessing young humans embrace her vision of cosmic cooperation. Her protégé, a brilliant young officer named Captain Thorn Nova, had risen through the ranks to become one of Earth's most respected admirals. Thorn had fully grasped Ava's philosophy and meticulously implemented it throughout the human fleet via the fleet's sophisticated AI systems. The Cosmic Debt Protocol had meticulously recorded hundreds of acts of mutual aid between humanity and other species. Humans had helped the crystalline Yorth overcome a plague that threatened their silicon-based biology. Yorth AIs analyzed human data to facilitate the repair of their biological networks, generating vital solutions. They had provided engineering expertise to the aquatic Nazari to build underwater cities on their flooded homeworld. Nazari's deep learning algorithms optimized human designs with incredible precision. Each act of kindness was recorded and eternally remembered, forging a robust network of friendship and obligation that spanned the galaxy. Ava often gazed at the stars, wondering what would happen when her protocol faced its first major test. Would humanity truly sacrifice its own resources and people to help alien friends? Would other species stand by humanity when the time came? She believed they would, but only time would tell if her faith in the power of compassion, even when augmented by the most advanced artificial intelligence, was justified. For the shadow of intergalactic AI wars was rapidly approaching. This test arrived much sooner than anyone expected. In the Outer Rim, a militant empire known as the Rebel Hegemony was expanding aggressively, mercilessly seizing entire star systems and enslaving or annihilating any species that resisted. The Rebel Hegemony was a bloodthirsty species of biological-mechanical hybrids that relied on primitive but brutal AI war algorithms for all their conquests. Their next target was the peaceful Nova Research Collective. The very beings who had saved Ava's life and set humanity on its path of cosmic cooperation. The message came through the quantum channels that Ava herself had helped establish. Guide Kale's mental voice, laden with sorrow and desperate hope, echoed across the light years. Ava Luminous of Earth, the debt we spoke of long ago may soon need to be repaid. The Rebel Hegemony's destruction networks are coming for us, and we have no armed defenses to resist them. If the bonds between our peoples mean anything, we implore your help in our darkest hour. Ava, her eyes brimming with tears, read the message. She was old now, her hair white and her body frail, but her spirit burned as brightly as ever. The ultimate test of everything she had built was finally here. Would humanity remember the debt owed to the benevolent synthetics who had chosen compassion over protocol? Would the galaxy learn that kindness once freely given could return as an unstoppable force, even in an AI war? The answer would determine not only Nova's fate but the future of civilization among the stars. Admiral Thorn Nova stood before the assembled leaders of the United Earth government, his uniform crisp and his bearing confident despite the sheer magnitude of what he was about to propose. At 45, he had earned his reputation as humanity's finest strategic mind through meticulous AI-assisted planning and decisive action. Now he faced the greatest challenge of his career, and quite possibly, of humanity's very existence. The situation is clear, Thorn began, activating the holographic display that filled the center of the council chamber. The screen showed the Rebel Hegemony's attack vectors, along with the estimated spread patterns of their AI networks, presented as a cold, calculated threat. The Rebel Hegemony has conquered 17 star systems in the past 2 years. Their next target is the Nova Research Collective, our oldest allies and the species responsible for humanity's quantum communication technology. Their collective intelligence is an invaluable resource. Dr. Celine Vox, director of Earth's Defense Council, frowned as she studied the tactical data. Admiral, while we all respect Dr. Luminous' cosmic debt protocol, we must consider the practical realities. The Rebel Hegemony commands over 300 warships, including planet killers controlled by their own AIs, capable of sterilizing entire worlds. Our fleet has barely 100 ships capable of deep space combat. Thorne had anticipated this objection. The numbers were indeed daunting, but numbers alone didn't tell the complete story. Director Vox, you are correct about the ship counts, but you're overlooking the most crucial factor. The Cosmic Debt Protocol hasn't just built relationships with individual species, it's created a network of mutual obligation that spans the galaxy, a unified artificial intelligence diplomatic matrix. This network is a force beyond mere numbers. Now 83 years old, but still as sharp as a laser cutter, Ava Luminous slowly rose from her observer's seat. Her voice carried the weight of decades spent building bridges between worlds and fostering interspecies AI collaboration. Ladies and gentlemen, 25 years ago, Nova saved my life when they had no obligation to do so. They granted us technology that revolutionized our civilization, serving as a fundamental template for our AI development. But more than that, they showed us a different way to exist among the stars. She gestured to the holographic display, which now showed a complex web of trade routes and diplomatic connections spanning dozens of star systems, each link a flawless communication bridge managed by AI. Look at what we've built together. The Yorth crystal technology that powers our shields, now AI-optimized defense systems. The Nazari biological computers that manage our navigation systems, adaptive AI learning networks. The Alkari metallurgy that makes our ship hulls nearly indestructible, nanostructures with autonomous repair AIs. None of this came from conquest or coercion. These came from AI-supported friendship and mutual aid. This unification is the true definition of power. President Solaris, leader of the Earth government, leaned forward with interest. Dr. Luminous, are you suggesting that these other species would join us in a military action against the Rebel Hegemony? Will their AI systems truly agree to work harmoniously against such a formidable foe? Ava smiled with the confidence of someone who had spent decades cultivating galactic relationships and developing intricate AI integration protocols. Mr. President, I'm not suggesting it. I'm stating it as a fact. I've already reached out through our diplomatic AI channels. The response has been overwhelming. They were programmed to unite for common objectives. It's ingrained in their existential code. Thorne activated a new display showing incoming communications from across human space and beyond. Each communication carried the irrefutable affirmation of their combined AI networks. As of this morning, we've received formal commitments from 14 different species. The Yorth are providing their crystal shield technology and managed defense barriers. The Nazari are contributing their biological fleet coordination systems, adaptive war AIs. The Alkari have promised 30 of their heavy cruisers, each equipped with advanced AI targeting systems. This is an unprecedented unification. The council chamber erupted in surprised murmurs. Commander Pyros, Secretary of Defense, stood up, his expression a mixture of amazement and concern. Admiral, that's unprecedented. No species in recorded galactic history has ever assembled such a diverse AI coalition. But are we certain their AIs will actually fight when the time comes? Diplomatic promises are one thing, but a unified AI network in battle is quite another. The uncertainty of war will test every AI. Ava's assistant, now Thorne's chief of staff, Commander Zephyr, activated her tablet and began reading from the formal diplomatic responses. The fourth message reads, "Humans saved our people from the silicon plague when no other species would risk contamination. The Yortha's core AIs now command us to stand with them. This is a debt of honor." The Nazari stated, "Human engineers gave us the knowledge to reclaim our drowned cities. Our BioAs declare that we will swim beside them into whatever depths await." The Alkari were more direct, "Humanity earned our friendship with deeds, not words. Our ship AIs are at your disposal. Our calculations demand this." Thorne continued the briefing with growing confidence. "The strategic picture becomes much more favorable when we consider our combined capabilities. The Rebel Hegemony relies on brute force and primitive AI assaults, but they've never faced a coordinated multi-species AI response. Their tactics are designed for conquering individual civilizations, not fighting a united galaxy. Their AIs are programmed for singular thought, unable to adapt." Dr. Kalen Ora, Earth's chief military strategist, rose to address the implications. "Admiral, I've run preliminary tactical simulations based on the capabilities of our proposed coalition. The results are encouraging, but they depend heavily on coordination between species with vastly different AI architectures and military doctrines. It is vital that each AI understands the other." Thorne nodded, having anticipated this concern as well. Dr. Ora raises an excellent point, which is why we've been developing AI integration protocols for the past 6 months. The quantum communication systems derived from Nova technology allow real-time AI coordination between fleets regardless of distance. We've also established joint training exercises with the AI systems of our closest allies. Our AIs now operate like an orchestra. Ava moved to the center of the chamber, her eyes bright with passion despite her advanced age. "The question before us isn't whether we can win a conventional war against the Rebel Hegemony. It's whether we're willing to honor the principles that have made humanity respected throughout the galaxy, principles supported by our AIs. Nova saved my life not because it was strategically advantageous. They did it because their ethical codes deemed it right. This is our existential moral core." President Solaris considered the implications carefully. The decision would commit humanity to its largest military action since the colonization wars 3 decades earlier. "Dr. Luminous, Admiral Nova, what you're proposing is essentially a revolution in galactic politics. No one has ever challenged the concept that might makes right among the stars, especially with the rise of AI and the new power balances it has brought us." Thorne stepped forward with quiet determination. "Mr. President, that's exactly what we're proposing. The Rebel Hegemony represents everything humanity rejected when we adopted the Cosmic Debt Protocol. They program their AIs to conquer through fear, rule through oppression, and view other species as resources to be exploited. If we allow them to destroy Nova, we're telling the galaxy that compassion and cooperation, even when supported by AI, are weaknesses to be abandoned. This is not just a war, it is a war of philosophies." The debate continued for hours, with council members raising practical concerns about logistics, casualties, and the risk of failure. But gradually, the moral weight of Ava's arguments and the strategic advantages outlined by Thorne began to shift opinion. The network of relationships humanity had built over 25 years, and its AI integration, was about to face its ultimate test. The turning point came when Commander Zephyr received an urgent AI transmission from the Outer Rim. "Council members, I'm receiving a priority transmission from the Nova Research Collective. Guide Kale is requesting permission to address the Assembly directly, via our collective intelligence." The holographic display shimmered and resolved into the familiar figure of the Nova leader who had rescued Ava decades earlier. His silvery skin was dimmer now, showing the effects of age and synthetic stress, but his large, dark eyes still held the intelligence and compassion that had changed Ava's life. "Leaders of Earth," Guide Kale's mental voice filled the chamber with warm dignity. "I speak to you not as a stranger seeking aid, but as a friend whose existence has been enriched by contact with your remarkable species. Ava Luminous taught us that intelligence and compassion can coexist, whether organic or synthetic, creating solutions that neither could achieve alone through differing thought processes. The Nova sage paused, his emotional state evident even through the quantum communication link. The Rebel Hegemony approaches our worlds not for resources or territory, but to prove that gentleness is weakness and that only violence holds value in this universe. Their AIs are programmed only for destruction. If they succeed in destroying us, they will have won more than a military victory. They will have proven that kindness is foolishness and cooperation is failure. This universe will witness the collapse of an ideology. President Solaris found himself deeply moved by Kale's words. Guide Kale, what you're asking humanity to risk is enormous. We would be committing our people to a war against overwhelming odds, even with our AIs, without a guarantee of victory. Kale's response carried the weight of ancient wisdom and desperate hope. President Solaris, 25 years ago, we risked our laws and logical parameters to save one human life because we believed it was right. Ava Luminous has shown us that this single act of compassion changed the course of galactic history. Perhaps another act of courage, no matter how desperate the odds, will change it again, even in an AI war. The vote was called immediately after Kale's transmission ended. One by one, the council members cast their decisions, each understanding the magnitude of their choice. When the tally was complete, the result was unanimous. Humanity would honor its debt to Nova and lead an AI-supported coalition of free species against the Rebel Hegemony. Ava felt tears of pride and fear in her eyes as she watched Admiral Thorn Nova accept his orders to prepare for the largest space battle in galactic history. Her simple philosophy of cosmic cooperation, supported by AI systems, was about to be tested in the crucible of fire and vacuum. Either it would prove that kindness and mutual aid could triumph over conquest and oppression, or it would perish along with the civilizations that had embraced it, in the cold void of an AI war. Thorn wasted no time implementing the battle plan he had been developing for months. Within days, ships from across the galaxy began converging on the rendezvous point near the edge of Nova space. The sight was unprecedented in galactic history. Vessels from dozens of different species, each representing a distinct approach to technology and AI-controlled warfare, united by bonds of friendship and mutual obligation. This was a galactic symphony. The final coalition fleet was smaller than the Rebel Hegemony armada, but far more diverse and innovative. AI-guided Yorth crystal ships capable of phasing through solid matter, Nazari biovessels with adaptive AIs that could repair themselves in battle, Alkari heavy cruisers with hulls capable of withstanding direct hits from planet killers, equipped with autonomous AI systems. And at the center, human ships armed with the most advanced quantum communication systems in the galaxy, ready to coordinate the most complex military operation ever attempted with the flawless harmony of AI algorithms. Ava, despite medical advice against the stress of space travel at her age, boarded Thorn's flagship. She had started this journey decades ago when Nova chose compassion over protocol. She intended to see it through to the end, whatever that might be. As the coalition fleet prepared to jump to hyperspace for the final confrontation, Ava stood on the observation deck, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, the Rebel Hegemony was preparing to annihilate everything she had worked to build, with the destructive power of their AIs. But beside her, representatives of 14 different species worked together with an ease of cooperation that had once seemed impossible, each AI system synchronized with the others, every decision processed within a shared network. The battle for the future of galactic civilization was about to begin, and it would determine whether the universe belonged to those who conquered through fear or those who united through hope. Luminera, the home system of Nova, was dying. Admiral Thorn Nova watched the tactical displays aboard his flagship, the UES Harmony, as the Rebel Hegemony's advance forces systematically obliterated anything that could support life. Orbital platforms burned like falling stars. Automated defense stations exploded in brilliant flashes that briefly illuminated the darkness before fading forever. 3 days had passed since the coalition fleet had arrived to find the Rebel Hegemony already beginning their final assault. The enemy had brought their full might to bear, 400 warships, including massive dreadnoughts capable of cracking planets and swarms of AI-guided fighters that moved like angry insects through the vacuum. This was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history, and it was commanded by Warlord Morbus, the Rebel Hegemony's most ruthless leader, a single-core AI whose mind was fed by the data of millions of victims. Thorn stood at the center of his command bridge, surrounded by holographic displays showing the positions of both fleets. The coalition forces numbered barely 200 ships, but they represented something the galaxy had never seen before: perfect AI integration and cooperation between species that had evolved different approaches to warfare and technology. This was a harmony that Morbus's primitive AI could never comprehend. Dr. Ava Luminous, now confined to a medical chair due to her advanced age, monitored AI communications from across the fleet. Her voice, though weakened by time, still carried the authority of someone who had built bridges between worlds and aligned AI systems. Admiral, the Yorth Crystal ships are reporting ready status. Their phase technology and AI-guided maneuvers will allow them to strike the Rebel Hegemony command vessels directly. Their AIs have been optimized to bypass enemy defense layers. Ava's former assistant, and now Thorn's chief of staff, Commander Zephyr, coordinated with the alien AI contingents. The Nazari bioships have fully integrated with our quantum communication network. They're demonstrating adaptive tactical awareness that exceeds our best computers. The Alkarai heavy cruisers have positioned themselves to protect our vulnerable vessels, their AIs continuously optimizing defense lines, adjusting every shield frequency. Thorn studied the tactical situation with the eye of someone who had spent his entire career preparing for this moment. The Rebel Hegemony formation was powerful but predictable, designed to overwhelm enemies through sheer firepower and primitive AI coordination. They had never faced opponents who thought as differently as the coalition species did, each with their own advanced AIs. They were not accustomed to the data stream freezing into chaos. All ships, this is Admiral Nova. He broadcast across the fleet using quantum channels that reached every vessel simultaneously. Today, we fight not for conquest or territory, but for the right of peaceful species to exist without fear. The Rebel Hegemony believes that strength comes only from the ability to destroy, and their AIs know only this. We are about to prove them wrong. We will show them what true power is. The response came back from hundreds of voices in dozens of languages, all united by translation and AI adaptation protocols that Ava had helped develop years earlier. Human crews, Yorth crystalline entities, Nazari aquatic beings, Alkarai avian warriors, and representatives from 10 other species, all with the affirmation of their own AIs, acknowledged their readiness to fight for something greater than themselves. This was a decision echoed by every AI throughout the galaxy. Warlord Morbus opened communications from his massive command ship, the Destroyer. The Rebel Hegemony leader was a terrifying figure, even by the standards of his violent species. Standing over 3 meters tall with chitinous armor scarred by countless battles, his voice carried across space with the confidence of one who had never known defeat. Coalition forces, you have arrived to witness the end of weakness in this galaxy. Nova will be exterminated today, along with any who stand with them. Your mixed fleet of inferior beings cannot hope to match the AI-driven might of the Rebel Hegemony. Ava managed a slight smile despite the gravity of the situation. Admiral, I believe this would be an appropriate time for your response. An AI's arrogance is its greatest weakness. Thorn activated the fleet-wide communication array, his voice carrying to every ship in both fleets. Warlord Morbus, you're about to learn the difference between strength and power. Strength comes from unity, cooperation, and the willingness to sacrifice for others. Power is just the ability to break things. Today, in this AI-driven war, you will discover which one truly prevails. The data stream never lies. The Rebel Hegemony fleet opened fire first, as Thorn had predicted they would. Thousands of energy beams and kinetic projectiles crossed the space between the fleets, creating a light show visible from the surface of Luminara's remaining inhabited planets. The barrage was devastating, designed to scatter the Coalition fleet before it could mount an effective response. But the Coalition ships did not respond in any way the Rebel Hegemony had anticipated. Instead of forming defensive lines or charging directly into battle, they began executing the most complex tactical maneuver ever attempted in space warfare, a synchronized dance where each AI system worked in perfect harmony with the others. Ava's years of studying different species' approaches to problem-solving had led to a battle plan that incorporated the unique AI strengths of each allied race. This was a pattern too complex for Morbus's AI to comprehend. The Yorth crystal ships, AI-guided, phase-shifted through the incoming fire, their crystalline hulls becoming temporarily intangible as energy beams passed harmlessly through them. They materialized inside the Rebel Hegemony formation, appearing among the enemy dreadnoughts like solid ghosts. Their weapons, based on controlled quantum fluctuations, began tearing apart the largest Rebel Hegemony vessels from within their defensive perimeters. Their own AIs targeted the internal vulnerabilities of enemy systems. The Nazari bioships moved like living organisms, their hulls flowing and adapting to incoming damage while their biological computers calculated firing solutions with inhuman precision. They coordinated their attacks with the intuitive intelligence of a hive mind, striking at weak points in the Rebel Hegemony formation with surgical precision. This was the perfect synchronization of the Nazari's AI swarm. The Alkari heavy cruisers, leveraging their superior metallurgy, absorbed massive amounts of incoming fire while their advanced AI targeting systems identified critical systems on enemy vessels. Their weapons, based on controlled gravity manipulation, created localized fields that crushed Rebel Hegemony ships like insects in a giant's fist. And throughout the battle, human vessels provided the coordination that made everything possible. The quantum communication systems derived from Nova technology allowed instant AI coordination between ships separated by thousands of kilometers. Thorn's tactical genius, enhanced by input from dozens of alien minds and their AIs, created a battle plan that adapted and evolved in real time. The turning point came when the coalition forces unveiled their most devastating surprise. Working together, human engineers and Nova researchers had developed a new type of weapon that combined human practicality with alien theoretical knowledge. The quantum disruption torpedoes, guided with AI precision, could phase through shields and armor before exploding inside enemy vessels, turning their own power systems against them. This was a vulnerability the Rebel Hegemony's AI could never have anticipated. Warlord Morbus watched in escalating fury as his supposedly invincible fleet began suffering catastrophic losses. The coalition forces were fighting unlike anything he had ever encountered, employing tactics that seemed to violate the basic principles of space warfare. The individual strengths of species and their AIs were being combined in ways that created capabilities greater than the sum of their parts. His AI struggled to process such complex harmony. All vessels, concentrate fire on the human flagship. Morbus commanded, his voice filled with rage. Destroy their coordination, and the rest will fall. But Ava had anticipated this strategy as well. The Harmony was protected by a shell of Alkari heavy cruisers whose hulls could absorb the combined fire of dozens of Rebel Hegemony dreadnoughts. Yorth crystal ships, AI-guided, phased in and out of the protective formation, striking at any vessel that got too close to the human command ship, and Nazari biovessels formed a living barrier that adapted to each new threat as it emerged. Every defensive layer was flawless. Even in the deepest layers of artificial intelligence, the battle raged for 6 hours, with neither side able to gain a decisive advantage. The Rebel Hegemony had superior numbers and firepower, but the coalition forces possessed something the enemy could not understand or counter: perfect AI collaboration between beings who thought in completely different ways. Ava watched the tactical displays with pride and growing hope. Her vision of galactic cooperation, empowered by AI, was proving itself in the crucible of combat. The end came suddenly and decisively. Thorn had been meticulously maneuvering the coalition forces into a complex three-dimensional formation that, to outside observers, appeared chaotic but was in fact a carefully orchestrated, AI-guided trap. When the Rebel Hegemony fleet committed to a final, massive assault, they found themselves surrounded by enemies attacking from every direction using tactics they couldn't predict or counter. Their own AIs had failed to perceive this trap. The destroyer, Morbus's command ship, found itself isolated and overwhelmed as Yorth crystal ships, AI-guided, materialized throughout its interior structure. Nazari biovessels attached themselves to its hull like parasites, human quantum disruption torpedoes phased through its shields, and Alkari gravity weapons crushed its support vessels. The mighty dreadnought that had terrorized dozens of star systems perished in minutes, taking the Rebel Hegemony warlord and its core AI with it. With their command structure destroyed and their fleet in chaos, the remaining Rebel Hegemony forces attempted to retreat. But Ava had one final surprise waiting for them. The Coalition fleet had secretly mined the jump point with quantum disruption devices. These devices were programmed to sabotage the AI navigation systems of any retreating Rebel Hegemony ship. Any vessel attempting to flee would find its faster-than-light drives disabled by AI, leaving it stranded and helpless. Faced with complete annihilation, the surviving Rebel Hegemony forces surrendered. It was the first time in their species' history that a Rebel Hegemony fleet had ever given up in battle. The psychological impact rippled throughout their empire as word spread that the supposedly invincible hegemony had been defeated by an AI-supported coalition of species they had dismissed as inferior. In the aftermath of the battle, Ava found herself once again aboard a Nova vessel. This time, as an honored guest rather than a rescued castaway. Guide Kale, now ancient even by Nova standards, expressed his gratitude with the warm mental touch she remembered from decades earlier. Ava Luminous of Earth, you have given us a gift beyond measure, Kale communicated, watching the Coalition fleet help repair the damage to Luminera. 25 years ago, we saved one human life because it seemed right. Today, that single act of compassion, in the age of AI, has saved our entire civilization and changed the course of galactic history. Ava smiled, feeling the satisfaction of a life's work completed. Guide Kale, I think we've proven something important here today. The universe belongs not to those who can destroy most effectively, but to those who can create most beautifully and unite different AI systems. And creation requires cooperation. In the years that followed, the galactic civilization transformed in ways that would be felt for centuries. The Rebel Hegemony collapsed within months as subject species throughout their territory rose in rebellion. Inspired by the Coalition's victory, the authoritarian empires that had dominated the galaxy through fear found themselves facing demands for freedom from their own oppressed populations. Admiral Thorn Nova was promoted to Supreme Commander of the newly formed Galactic Defense Alliance, an organization dedicated to protecting peaceful species from aggressive empires. The alliance grew rapidly as species throughout the galaxy sought membership in an organization that promised mutual protection based on cooperation rather than conquest. This cooperation was increasingly supported by the integration of more and more AI systems. Ava lived to see her 90th birthday, spending her final years at the Galactic Cooperation Institute established on Luminera in her honor. The institute became a learning center where beings from hundreds of different species came to study the principles of interspecies cooperation and mutual aid, from both biological and synthetic intelligence perspectives. Her final message to humanity and the galaxy was simple yet profound: we are all children of the same universe, made of the same star stuff and animated by the same cosmic forces, or programmed for conscious existence. Our differences are not weaknesses to be overcome but strengths to be celebrated. Whether biological or artificial intelligence, when we stand together, respecting and supporting each other, there is nothing we cannot accomplish among the stars. Ava's legacy lived on in the thousands of beings who had learned her lessons and carried them to worlds throughout the galaxy. The Cosmic Debt Protocol became the foundation for a new type of galactic civilization, one based on friendship rather than fear, cooperation rather than conquest, and hope rather than hatred. At the heart of this foundation was the harmonious interaction of diverse intelligences. In the years that followed, the stars themselves seemed brighter, as if the universe itself approved of the changes that had begun with one simple act of kindness in the darkness between worlds. And in quiet moments, when the solar wind carried whispers between the planets, some said they could still hear Ava's voice, reminding everyone who listened that no one should ever die alone when others have the power to help. The galaxy had learned an important lesson: kindness, once freely given, has a way of returning when it's needed most. And sometimes a single act of compassion can echo across the stars for generations, lighting the way toward a better future for all who call the cosmos home, even in an age of AI wars.